They go right foot, then left. And what they ain't gonna do is finesse. They done work too hard, too long. It's about time to come and right these wrongs. They about justice and peace.
We can do this.
And if you wanna see some change, say the action starts with me. Biden, let's vote, vote, vote. Harris, let's vote, vote, vote. Biden, let's vote, vote, vote.
Everybody. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Hey, I don't know about you guys, but every single time I see that video, it makes me just get so pumped up. And I love seeing all the references from Iowa and all the other places that we went and succeeded leading up to this point. It gets me super excited. I hope you guys like it just as much as I do. But thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to our panelists, to our viewers, to our supporters. It means the world that you're taking the time out of your day during these unprecedented moments in our country to spend it with us in the Joe Biden for Florida campaign. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Wes Crew. I am the Florida State Youth Vote Director, handling all operations with our coalitions team to make sure that students, whether they're in high school, college, graduate programs, exceeding those, and young Americans across the state of Florida are informed of how they can vote properly and safely, and how they can get involved with their campaign through the robust field program that our youth vote team has constructed to make sure that we turn out the vote here in Florida. But so that is a little bit about me. I'm super excited about working in Florida with the rest of these panelists who join us for our Students for Joe Biden team. And I'll start with some brief introductions. We have Robert Palacios, we have Raymond Adderly, and Vincent Toranzo. They come to us from all different capacities throughout the state of Florida that work with our high schoolers for Joe Biden, our Students for Joe Biden, which consists mostly of our Greek life and all students that revolve around undergraduate and graduate programs, and young Americans all the way up to the into after college and post-graduation. So we have a lot of capacity in a lot of different places, all thanks to the work and organizing that these three have put into everything up to this point. So I will give a few minutes for our team here to really dig in and have a roundtable discussion about some of the things that we're seeing on and off our virtual campuses and what is different, not just being in a presidential election right now, but also dealing with the unprecedented circumstances of our country right now. So I would like to ask our students why you got involved with the Joe Biden campaign. What really triggered you to take your actions on top of being a student and activating yourself academically, but also taking on the role of activism to make sure that Joe Biden is elected this November? And I want to start with Raymond in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Raymond Adderly. I'm a class president at Fort Lauderdale High School. I'm the class president of the largest class in Fort Lauderdale history. And so I am so excited to be a part of what's happening there. Furthermore, I am a fellow on the Florida Coordinated Campaign under field organizer Brandon Giovanni in New Smyrna Beach, as well as the regional director, Thorin Perigo, who's in charge of the entire Volusia County. Very simple. I'm here in this campaign for several reasons. And the first reason, most of all, is I understand the struggle of seeing my mom trying to get affordable housing. I understand the people in my class who just simply cannot afford a $10 t-shirt. And it's for those people that I work tirelessly to get Joe Biden involved and to be elected to this presidential campaign. Let's understand something very fundamentally right off the bat. It's that President Trump, the people who I just spoke about, my mother, the people in my class, and their parents, President Trump has neglected them completely over the last 4 years in favor of big business and people who are just, are his allies and his friends. Let's understand that tide will be reversed when we elect Joe Biden. People like my mom no longer have to struggle to find affordable housing and affordable insurance. And the people in my class no longer struggle to meet me to the $10 t-shirt, which will make my job easier as a class president. And also, I can also empathize with them as well. And so does Joe Biden. I'm so glad to be on here tonight with all of you, my colleagues, Vincent and Robert, who also have amazing stories, and also Wes. Thank you all so much for having me, and I look forward to continue speaking soon.
Thank you, Raymond. We are very excited about having you on the team and working with you as well. And thank you so much for being so heartfelt and letting us hear your passions for Joe Biden and why you're succeeding so much in your part of the state. I'm going to pass it over to Vincent. Vincent, give us your why for Joe Biden this year and a little bit about yourself and your involvement with the campaign.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. And thank you guys for joining us today, the viewers out there. I'm so happy to once again be able to talk to you guys directly via live stream. And, I've been with the campaign volunteering for about over a year now. And as soon as Joe Biden announced, I joined his campaign. I knew he was the one that would, restore the soul of this country after 4 years of irresponsibleness from the Trump administration, the destruction that this president has caused to our country. And I knew that he would be the one to fix our country and our state right now. So I've like I said, I've been with the campaign for about a year now. I joined as a student for Biden a couple months after I signed up as a fellow. And I was tapped to be a part of the Student Leadership Council, which I currently still am a part of, which I'm so honored to be a part of that. And I'm also High Schoolers for Biden co-chair, which is really exciting and fun to be able to work with high schoolers across this country to support Joe Biden for the next president to be the next president of the United States. And my story, I've always loved politics since I was pretty much in kindergarten. I probably didn't understand it too much at that age, but I knew that it was history in the making when Barack Obama was elected the first African-American president of this country. But politics never became personal to me until about a little bit over a month ago, where I lost my aunt to a very terminal illness, that she had. And it was a hard experience for me and my family. But I knew that without, electing Joe Biden this November, we'd see so many people lose their family members over illnesses, pre-existing conditions, and even now amid the worst pandemic since the 1918 pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. So I believe that Joe Biden can restabilize our country, can get our country back on track, and can make this country a place for everyone, no matter what race, religion, sexuality, or gender. But I really believe that we need to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris right now to restore the soul of this country.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for your efforts that you've given with high schoolers for Joe Biden on the chair level and on the national level. You guys have been doing a great job, and we're really excited to hear more about you and the program that you guys got running. With that, I'll pass it over to Robert. Robert, please tell us about your involvement with the campaign up to this point, a little bit about yourself, and why you joined this fight.
Thank you, Wes, Raymond, and Vincent. I actually got involved in 2018. I was inspired by Joe Biden leadership when I created Biden for Florida, which now serves as the official page for our next president, 46. I knew at that time that our former Vice President, Joe Biden, will carry out the responsibility of the Oval Office in this moment of history with the knowledge, respect, humility, character, and compassion it requires so much now. Joe Biden will restore our country and move this country towards a path that all Americans will be proud of, an inclusive America, an America that won't scare immigrant children or damage our reputation at the global stage. And what better way to become the leaders of the 21st century than by having our next Vice President, Kamala Harris, and having students across the country say the words, Madam Vice President. Thanks.
It's going to be a beautiful thing, and I can't wait for it either, Robert. You're absolutely right. Next, I really just want to talk about, one, the importance of the youth vote, not necessarily of the importance of us getting out and voting ourselves, the importance of young people being involved in this election, the importance of making sure that your voices are heard, not just in Florida, but across the nation. So I really just want to put out that like it's really on us in Florida as far as like the scale of which we take up our vote share. The youth vote, anybody from ranging in that age range from 18 to 35 can take up to almost 20% of the vote within Florida. That is almost 1 out of every 5 people in Florida is a young voter that has the ability to vote in this election. And that is a massive part of our vote share that's really going to be detrimental to us winning as a state and us turning blue for the rest of the country. So next, I'd really like to ask you guys what it means to truly have students and teachers at the table in this election, and especially during the reopening of schools across Florida. So what schools reopening means to you and their families, and why do you think it's important to have a plan and a teacher in the White House regarding Dr. B? Dr. B has been one of my most favorite people to hear over the course of the last year and a half, coming from a single parent household of a retired special education, professor. It meant so much to me that I had somebody that I related to on a personal level from my home life that I looked up to have in the White House. I know the struggles that she's had as a teacher. I know the struggles that she's had as a woman. So to see somebody so empowering and so informative and so knowledgeable of what so much that we need in this country in the White House makes me realize that we are not just getting the ambition, the knowledge, and the intelligence of Vice President Joe Biden. We are also getting all of those actions and all of that information that comes with the future First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. So why do you think it's important to have a plan and to have a teacher in the White House? And we'll start with Robert.
When it comes to reopening school physically, we must reach this in an inclusive approach. We have students who live with their grandparents, and this is something we see more in the Hispanic community. Also, students who have pre-existing medical conditions. There's no question about it that virtual school has given parents of young students who work a tough time. But this is no way should impact the students and their education. You see, more than ever, we need good educators in the school board. And this is something that affects the students like you, Vincent, and Raymond. Educators who understand. And more than ever, Dr. Biden and her influence and work ethics will affect at the country level her influence and work that will benefit students like myself and parents across the country and people who work in the school system.
Awesome. Let's go over to Vincent. Vincent, why do you think it's important to have a plan that's developed by a teacher and to have a teacher in the White House?
Right. Well, like Robert said, there are a lot of students out there who have pre-existing conditions or are considered high risk by the CDC guidelines during this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm one of those students that would be considered high risk, and my parents are one of those people that would also be considered high risk. But I think we really need a set plan, a plan that will be able to protect students in schools, and if we can't move to education physically safely, then we shouldn't be going to school physically if there is no safe plan. We shouldn't, simple as that. But I really do believe that with Joe Biden and Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, in the White House, there will be a plan. Not only because, we'll have a first lady that's an educator, which will be amazing. But she's also made it very clear, and so has her husband, Joe. They've made it very clear that the Secretary of Education will be an educator. And that really puts me at ease and a lot of students that I know, because we know that as long as there's an educator running our education system in this country, then we can accomplish so much in this country in terms of our education system. Someone like Betsy DeVos, who is failing our students, we're just not the pioneers right now within world education. And Joe Biden knows, and so does Dr. Jill Biden. They both know that in order to be pioneers in education, we need to win this election, and we need to put an educator not only in the White House, but also as the Secretary of Education.
Correct. And lastly, let's hear from Raymond in Fort Lauderdale. Raymond, what are some things that you see as important to have a plan and to have an educator in the White House? Actually, I think Raymond may have stepped away for a little while. So, okay, we can move on. So nextly, I'd like to talk about some of the things that we have coming in store. Speaking of Dr. Biden, this upcoming September 3rd, here in a few days, we are going to be hosting Jill Biden. We're going to be hosting Dr. Jill Biden at Pasco Hernando Community College so she can inform the state of Florida of some of the plans and some of the actions that are going to be taken on the legislative level to make sure that we are succeeding on an educational environment and what our students are dealing with. You know, me personally, as being an advocate for youth involvement and protection of young people, even as my work as a social worker for neglected and abused children up to the age of 13, is not just making sure that they're taken care of, but making sure that they have all the knowledge that they need to succeed. They have the equal opportunities to have education. They have equal opportunities of social services for their families, that they are all treated not equally just as a social servant, but they are also given everything that they need post-education and coming out into making sure that they have all the opportunities to have financial needs. They're able to not worry about what their student forgiveness is going to look like if they want to go to college. And a lot of these things that come with that educational environment are going to be discussed on this event that Dr. Biden is going to be hosting for us here in the state of Florida. And we're going to be dropping the link for that event in the chat box here soon. But please, please, please spread this far and wide. We want as many young people and constituents inside the state of Florida to be able to have the chance to see Dr. Biden present to the state of Florida. And then we are also going to be touching on one last thing that is one thing I want to ask of our peers to do before Election Day. And I would really like to not necessarily put the emphasis on, we know how important this is, and not necessarily the importance of how you need to get out, but it's how to bring people with you. We are not necessarily going to do this alone. We need all of our friends. We need all of our family. We need all of our colleagues and neighbors to be in this fight with us to make sure we are successful on November 3rd. So please, if there's one thing that I do ask of you, is not only get involved yourself, encourage your family members, encourage your friends, encourage your fellow students to get involved. This is the most important election of our lifetime, no matter what our age is. And it is on us, not as students, but as Americans, to make sure that we make this country great. And we're only going to be able to do that if we elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on November 3rd. So please, students, go text student or youth to 30330. That's students or youth to 30330. Put that in a text message to get involved, and you'll have somebody from our beautiful organizing team or our Youth Vote Coalition be able to follow up with you and let you know how you can get involved with their campaign. And I believe, lastly, we're going to close with just, I would like to go back around and hear from our students. If there's one thing that you have a concern of your own for this election, if there's one thing that you'd like to express to students to see the importance of this election, I'd like to give you this chance to do so. So, Robert, what is one thing that you are just ultimately passionate about for why you're, not only for why you're in this fight, but what's one thing that you want your fellow young Americans to see in this election to really take action?
Very simple, to please register and vote early or vote by mail, whatever works better for you. Get engaged. We as students can influence this election, not only at the presidential level, but statewide too. Make calls and show your support. Place a yard sign, a bumper stickers, a pin. Show your support for our next president and our next vice president, Kamala Harris.
Absolutely. We'll pass it over to Raymond. Raymond, what is one of the most important actions to take? One of the most important things that you have on your plate that you would like for other young Americans to see to take part in this election?
The most important thing is, if you are eligible to vote, you're 18 and you're in high school, please do so. If you're in college and you're eligible to vote, please do so. I can't stress enough the importance of this fundamental concept. In the next 4 years, the decisions that we all make now will be the decisions that will affect us going into our adulthood. The decisions that we make now can be the matter between you getting a house out of college and you renting an apartment for the first 10 years of your adult life. Let's not make those mistakes that we made in 2016 and make sure that we get out and vote for the vice president and for Senator Kamala Harris on November 3rd, because that is where change occurs. And we all want to be in the room where it happens. There's no better way to do that than to get started working on a campaign. Reach out to your field organizer closest to you, get out on the college ground and spread the message of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And last but not least, let us make sure that we vote and vote like we never have before. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Raymond. And lastly, we'll hear from our national co-chair for high school students for Joe Biden, Vincent. Wrap us up. And what is the most important thing that you could tell a young American about this election and why they need to get involved?
So right now there are over 170,000 people that have lost their lives because of this coronavirus pandemic. And the reason is because of the failed actions to prevent this from reaching our shores from the Trump administration. And it's not just this pandemic. We're also facing the virus of racism in our country. And that's only being fueled with gasoline by President Trump and his administration. So right now we need to get involved. We need to go out and vote, just like Robert and Raymond said. But, you know, as a co-chair of high schoolers for Biden, I know that there are a lot of high schoolers that will not be able to vote this election. I won't even be able to vote this election just by a couple days. So it's not just about voting. It's also about getting involved, getting out there and organizing to get other people to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Because even if you can't vote as a high schooler, or for whatever reason that you can't vote, you can still get organized. You can still volunteer and have other people vote for you. You know, they have to vote because everything is on the line. And, you know, especially in Florida, you know, this is a Florida for Biden live stream. We need to get involved in Florida big, because if not, we might face the same fate that we faced in 2016, but we won't. I know we won't, because most of us and a lot of Democrats will get out there to volunteer and organize because they understand what's at stake in this election, and they're going to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Awesome. Very well said, Vincent. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us. Thank you so much to our supporters and our viewers who are watching us from home today. Please stay safe, stay home, wear a mask, vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris come November 3rd. But most importantly, if you're looking to step up and take action this election, and join us here that are all on this call in making sure that we put those two people in the White House come November 3rd, text students to 30330. Find out how you can get involved. Get in touch with your local field organizer and see how you can take action. Thank you all so much for joining us.
The future of this country is forged in the classroom. I'm Dr. Jill Biden. I've been an educator for more than 30 years. My students inspire me every day. They remind me what's at stake in this election. My husband Joe has spent years working to get educators the pay, dignity, and respect they deserve. Now he's running for president to restore the soul of this country, and he's the only one who can stand up to Donald Trump and get it done.